welcome back from the ordeal, boys.
That was fun.
That was just a wild ride.
I just don't know what happened. It had everything right. Strategy from level 1, a way to try and isolate the key condition of Raze being so good on this roster, getting the key targets of Praetus and Seaman online, getting them incredibly fed, Baron steals, jungle, disparities of levels. I mean, what an upset, what a game.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to me, right? Because there was a real problem with itemization in this game. Because normally what you play against is like a 2-1 split. But this game, there was just 4 damage dealers on the lineup of Gravitas. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, we'll itemize for the Fed guys, Praelis and Human. It's like, yeah, but late game, you have to worry about the Misfortune. And Renekton still won combos people. I think people forget that.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting game for me.
Very exciting win for Gravitas. Congratulations to all 70 of the guys. All right, it's time to move on because we do have Chiefs versus Mammoth coming up. The run is about to start.
Yeah.
Imagine if they
based
both
off
lose.
that game, Mammoth is the second best team in the league because they beat Gravitas. Gravitas beat Legacy. So the run is, this is now first versus second in the league.
There you go.
This is the match of the night now.
I'm very excited. We're only just getting started, but it is time to jump into the Nick Bag. Alrighty, welcome to the Nick Bag. Our first question comes in from Anon, who says, "Hi Nick, I'm a recent graduate into the adult area, and I'm wondering how I balance my work and life. To be clear, adult area just means adulthood.
That took me a second as well.
I want to have time to message friends and stay in contact and hang out, but I never have time or I'm tired. How do you deal with this?"
How do you deal with it?
You don't. This is your life now. You, the sad fact of the matter is, as you get older, your priorities shift, and it becomes more about family and work and these things that when you were younger it was like, I can just hang out all day and life is nothing but opportunity and chilling out. And you just can't hang out with your friends that much. You don't have as much free time. The real trick to being an adult is not to fight that, but to accept it and to be able to take advantage of it when those opportunities do pop up.
And there is another piece of news that Nick has left out.
Yeah.
Is it only gets worse from here.
It does.
Because what happens is you go to uni and you have all this time. Like you have more time at uni than you had at high school. Mm-hmm. You can work a part-time job, you can hang out, you can go out. You only need like 4 hours sleep because your body is just like running on pure like goodness of not being a kid anymore.
Yeah.
And then like you get a job and then all of your time goes. Yeah. And then you get a long-term partner and then even more time goes. Then you have a family.
Yeah.
And like you just exist on negative time.
Totally.
Like even the alone time. You know how you're saying you're tired? You don't even have time to be tired when you have a kid. It only gets worse from here.
The acceptance is really the hardest part. I fought for so long. For years, I went to bed at like 1 o'clock in the morning. From sort of 16 until 32, I went to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning because I was like, there's more time for me to do the things that I love. And then as soon as we had a second child, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to bed between 10 and 11:30. And I just needed to make an adult decision to do that. And it dramatically improved my life, but it dramatically affected doing all the, watching sport, playing video games, reading, all the stuff that I like to do.
I think there is a solution though. And if I was to take inspiration when we're talking about just recently hitting adulthood, let's go way past that to the retirees.
Yep.
The answer is proximity.
Friend proximity.
I think that's probably the only way that, it's very almost impossible to do it at this point in time, right?
Yep.
Because maybe you've gone to uni, maybe they've disappeared as well. Like that's impossible. But at a certain point, if you're next door to them or you've moved in with them, you have time because they're right there and it takes 2 seconds. I think that's like the only easy answer that I could provide.
Also, as you said, with old people, you should just retire because retirees have a bunch of time.
I think on the flip side of that, it's also you can maybe make like Facebook events where you set a date and say, look, we're gonna all have like a boys trip or.
For him.
Is my mic still not working?
Who knows, man?
Hey guys, give me here. So I think
there
maybe you set up like an event, like a Facebook event where you say it's gonna be a boys trip, a lads trip, or a group trip. A time that we can go to a particular place, hang out, and spend like a week together or a weekend, and something to look forward to.
Fact. Sebi Swire in the chat said, "Real friends will always stick by you, even if you don't talk for over a year. And when you do meet again, you just continue as always," which is totally true. My best friends in the entire world, I speak to like once every couple of months, and then it's like no time passed. The final thing is, this is like the realest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Yeah.
Is to try to make friends, like real friendships with people you work with. If you work with people in an environment where you actually like them, so much of the meaningful conversations, relationships and friendships that I've had in my life who aren't the sort of like true friends from the past are colleagues, because you go, these are realistically the people I spend most of my time with. So try to forge actual friendships like we have here.
Exactly.
We are all actual, genuine friends.
On Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, on Fridays and Saturdays. And then during the week, we just never talk to each other. All right, cool, good. Enough serious shit. Let's move on to the next question. Cat Roulette says, hey Nick, what should I do with my life? I'm at square one at the moment, so open to all suggestions, go wild.
I just say go on an OE. That's always what my first instinct is. Just get out of this country, do something different.
Yeah, right.
Just go see the world. I think travel's the best thing you can do. I feel like the biggest takeaway I got when I moved from the UK to New Zealand is that nobody had ever been out of that country. They'd gone to Australia and thought it was a big deal, or like they'd gone from the South Island to the North Island. And I'm like, you don't know half of the things that are out there.
It's like only 2
And they try to live vicariously through like, YouTube vlogs and whatnot. It's a totally different thing to experience it versus like watching it.
It's the most sensible thing you've ever said.
Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what Jenna and I used to What I would say is just get a job that you can put up with that is a social job and save money to travel. We went throughout Southeast Asia. I've been lucky enough to do Europe, Greater Asia, North America. Getting out of Australia, especially if I've been a city person for the last 6-7 years, really opened my eyes up and made me hopefully a better person.
So I was going to consider travel as an option as well. Maybe learn a language, disappear, travel, immerse yourself in that language to embrace the new culture. But I think that if you're stuck in Australia for the current moment, perhaps, be a diving instructor, because that can then take you anywhere in the world afterwards. And it's a skill that's very social that you could learn while here.
Also, everyone tries to find a job they like.
Oh my God, are we about to have the same
What are you
piece of
about to
advice?
say?
Well, I was about to say, don't necessarily follow your passion. Because I think that so many people, nowadays, everyone has an interest that is also could be a job. And don't always try to turn your hobbies or your interests into a job. Try to find a job that's stable and interesting. Yeah. Try to find something that's emotionally fulfilling. But if you turn your hobby into a job, if it doesn't work out, you're going to hate your hobby and you're going to hate yourself. And also, most people are trying to get jobs in the area in which their hobbies and their interests lie these days. Everyone wants to be a Twitch streamer. Don't go find happiness in accounting, because you'll then have time to do Twitch streaming because you'll have made mad bank.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is at a young age, and Jimmy's pretty young, I think that too many people try and find their career.
Yeah.
Just do jobs. And if you hate jobs, just add it to the list of shit that you're not going to do while you're in that emotional state.
Yeah.
And just make sure that they give you something, either social experience, a good check, whatever the case may be. But just do lots of jobs.
Yeah.
People act as if resume filling is a bad thing. There's nothing better than meeting a 30-year-old that kind of has experience in everything.
There's a fantastic book, I think David Epstein wrote it. It's called Range, and it's about how people who are generalists in the world are actually far more successful in every aspect of life than someone who is a specialist.
Yeah.
And that if you...
Specialists are boring. You can't even talk to them half the time.
Totally.
Got their heads up their ass.
I have a friend who's a doctor, and he will not shut up about doctor stuff, but then as soon as I try to talk about anything else, he's just I have no point of reference to be able to engage in this conversation. Don't pursue your passion. Keep your passion as your passion. Go find something that's actually either financially rewarding or emotionally fulfilling. Go work for a charity or go work for, I don't want to say a bank, because honestly...
Hey, I worked as Macca's as a manager, and when I was 21, I made serious bank at Macca's working overtime as a manager.
There you go.
It allowed me to travel all over the world. People hang shit on Macca's. It was the best social experience of my life. I loved everyone I worked with. I was only 19 to 20 at the time. And I just worked my ass off and did 60-hour weeks. And overtime rate at Macca's is lit AF, and none of the other managers wanted to be there. So I got every shift in the world.
There you go. And this is a perfect segue into our next question from Abby Stiff, who says, why do they call it Macca's? Because we're in Australia,
Because we're Australia, yeah.
That's what we call it.
Do they not have a nickname for it in every other country? I met a Canadian who said they call it Mickey D's.
Yeah, and I think America is the same, and in England I think they call it Mackey's.
Mackey's.
Which is
I've never
very
heard
sweet.
it was Mackey's. No.
What do
You grew up in New Zealand.
Nah, well, I grew up until I was 12 in the UK.
Yeah, what do you guys call it then?
In New Zealand?
Yeah, either, mate.
I don't
Pick
even-
a country.
Well, New Zealand is the same as you guys, but in England, I don't know. Like, I always heard it as McDonald's. Do you know what I mean?
It's Mackey's. That's what I read. That's what I
Everything has
read.
a nickname,
That's what-
Skibby. I think
that's
you
what
just missed it.
Quora or whatever it is told me. But yeah, it's because we're in Australia. That's what we do with words. McDonald's is a last name. You just take it, you shorten it, and you add
It's like
an
anything,
A.
right? It's like the servo, the dairy, just all the different types of things.
There you go.
Yeah.
I see in the chat, Sithcat just says Nick is correct. I assume you were talking about what I was just talking about. So fantastic. All right. We will continue with the Nick Bag in the next seg. Please send in your questions to @NickBoy on Twitter or asknickboy@gmail.com, or just send me interesting things that you find in your life. I check that email address all through the week. It's time to get into game
I'm
number
lonely, he says.
I'm so lonely.
Give me content.
Because when I'm not with my friends on Friday and Saturday, I'm just desperately
I was going to say,
alone.
Pete and Gus are going to be real pissed off at you because you work with two mates every single day, and you've just
do.
said, I don't talk to my best friends for months at a time. So Pete and Gus, if you're watching, Nick hates you.
It's true. It's true. But it's the hate that only comes from knowing people so deeply and with such profound love that you can really feel it, and also working with them. All right, it is time to move on to game number 2. It is Mammoth versus Chiefs. It's the beginning of the run. It's just established now. It's going to happen. Very excited for Mammoth. Can we get a Mammoth roster up, please? While Rusty just extols their virtues.
Oh, it is Kwaku in the top lane.
I think you'll find it's pronounced Kweku.
It's definitely Kwaku, and if you want to have a problem with that, you can take it up with Kwaku.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's in the jungle, lived mid lane with a Bowman and Emelg in bot lane. It is step 2 of the run if they're able to get a win today.
There you go. I mean, I hope they win because we've had Quaker on the couch. We've had Lived on the couch. The hit rate for the quality of person in Mammoth is 100% so far. 2 of those people don't have faces. I'd like to see them here.
It's raw excitement, I suppose is the best way to put it. It's not filtered expectations of like we need to win the OPL. It's more like we're grateful to play this game, and if we can take games off some opponents, how cool is that, right? So just sit on the couch and be like, yo, I'm here playing games, getting interviewed. Like I'm sure they got all their mates at home watching. Feel like a bit of a mini celebrity.
And also, it's the beginning of the run. The run is going to take place against Chiefs. Jake.
Yeah, this is a tough run. It's like when you put your treadmill on 16 and then put some incline on it as well. It's going to be Thean in the top lane, Croc in the jungle, Claire is their mid laner, Katsuri and Korea CK down in the bottom lane, and Seal, my bromance at the moment, is their coach.
100%.
Really?
Yeah, me and Seal get along like a house on fire, actually. I think he's really, really great guy, and I think that, did you guys read the recent Snowball article on him?
Yep.
He's instilled like a lot of really good characteristics into an OS team, which I've always been a big fan of trying to do. And the fact that as a young guy, he's been able to do that with the team, like I had to become the general manager, part owner, blah, 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 in order to be able to get anyone to respect me. The fact that he's been able to do that, like as a first year coach on the top team.
Yeah. And honestly, I've talked to half your team.
They hate me anyway. Yeah.
All right, it's time for game number 2. It is Mammoth versus
But
Chiefs.
I hate you
and
too.
This is the Macca's Camp Select. He's talking to you, Ronan.
Hello and welcome to the Macca's Champ Select. We're about to get into game 2 of the evening between Mammoth and the Chiefs Esports Club. Voices of Spawn and about to be Skin Boss on the mics, and this is the start of the run.
Just fixing one mic and getting my ready self on a second mic. But let's kick it off. Mammoth, if they could do that, this would be the day of upsets. You might as well go out and buy a lotto ticket because the world is coming to an end. Things are changing rapidly in the environment in the OPL scene. He's flipping the script.
Absolutely.
Down under.
And I think that we've had kind of a week of upsets already, because even though they weren't as bigger upsets yesterday, Order picked up against the win against Pentanet, who they didn't have the head-to-head against. Mammoth picked a win up against Avant, I believe.
Yep.
Who they didn't have the head-to-head against and were below on the table. So I think that this week already has started to shake it up. And I want to talk about a theory of maybe why.
Okay.
Week 6 is a real tough week in the OPL. Actually, week 5, 6, and 7, in my opinion, are the toughest weeks of the OPL for any team. It's when the grind really starts. So you come in pre-season, the honeymoon's there. You start implementing all these things into the game, and then you either go on a massive uphill or a massive downhill. If you start winning, you go on this huge uphill, right? Chiefs and Legacy for the first 4 weeks, feeling awesome. Everyone else, like Order, starting to feel a bit shit, right? Gravitas, Mammoth, when is it ever going to happen? Then this week 4 to like week 7 period hits, and it's like, yes, I'm doing my dream job, but I've been doing it for like 2 months now. I've been living with these guys. This coach keeps, you know, coaching me through stuff or yelling at me or being super nice, but he's kind of getting annoying either way. And then it starts becoming really, really tough. And when you start winning or losing on these weeks, your emotions are really like
they're on a fine line, yeah.
So like you get killed once in the early game. In week 1, you're like, don't worry about it, boys. We got this. Like bomb slaps all around.
Yeah.
Like Raze watches his like mid jungle die, and he's like, holy shit, guys, can you just let me carry the game? Like, there's just an Emperor's mindset there, right? And I really find that this period is a big time for it. So I'm interested to see how these teams start coming through the other end of it.
As you say, you know, do you get along with your teammates? Is the environment as a whole one that you work well towards? Do you like the strategies that you're deploying, the champions you're being drafted on? Do you like the identity that you form? As you say, honeymoon periods, momentum, new ideas, new schedules for the likes of Mammoth, who've changed things up completely with a brand new bot lane, and even told us, hey, we're taking things just a little bit differently now. And it's been working for them so far, able to net themselves a second win. But all the outside sources aside, let's crack on in with this draft now, Spawn. It's going to be an instant first pick for Kwaku on that set. Response out of the Chiefs is a variation across the mix, really. Jungle, mids, and bottom lane.
And I have a sneaking suspicion, Skimmy. I was watching this draft happen. Insta-lock set.
Yes.
Insta-lock Cassiopeia. No hesitation.
Okay.
I'm going to call it now. That is a top lane Cassiopeia. Fian is going to play the Snake into Kwaku. And if Queknos swaps that champion to live, then Claire will pick it up.
Okay.
It's a very difficult matchup for Set to be able to deal with.
Because you've talked about this in the past, right? Sustained damage,
Yeah.
the likes of Singe, Soraka when it's come out across as well. The Haymaker's burst, but the poison damage negates that, so it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I did notice a little bit of the tape on the Chiefs jersey. Shout out to HyperX. They announced that they picked them up as their new peripheral partner.
Always that little adjustment period with the new
Yeah,
peripherals.
I'm sure there's a new one coming through, but good to see that the Chiefs still managing to rack themselves up some good partners there, Skimmy.
They're doing well. Definitely doing well with their
They've got a
recent
very cool
acquisitions.
jersey, right?
Yeah.
Looks good with the bull on their shoulder, and they've been in QV in Melbourne as well lately. I don't know if you follow their Insta.
I've seen a few photos where they've had like 1v1s and get to meet the pros and all the rest of it.
I
Always
think
a nice
they've
bit of
had the
engagement.
Robos down there as well. Mitch Robinson and his brother, who I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I think, yeah, fun lineup to go check out. I think Claire's there tomorrow with
Okay.
Fian. Yeah, so if you're in Melbourne, maybe check it out. That's enough Chiefs sponsorship.
I'll hop
plugs
on
for me.
hop on the flight with you. Now this is interesting. Okay, so tickle my brain for 2 seconds.
Yep.
Yumi hasn't been banned. We've got the likes of it for the easy pairing with the Ezreal. They're thinking and do decide to lock in the Nautilus for the aggression like last game. So they kind of expecting, this surely is an easy bait for Mammoth to go, we just pick up Yumi here.
Yeah, I think that would be a pick that you can go for, but it's a heavy losing lane. I would prefer to see something like a Braum pickup here. It's going to deny a lot of the aggression that can come out of the Misfortune in the laning phase. Also very good mid-game with Gragas. Gragas Braum, as far as duos go, are really impressive. Rakan would be counter-picking yourself, however we saw Meld play it to a pretty high level yesterday. So that's an interesting one for me. I would have said Ezreal Rakan. I think this is like a negative. Like if Katsuri plays this well and is on 100 CS, I would expect Mboma to be somewhere between 70 and 80. I think this is a negative 30 to like negative 20 CS matchup, to be honest, which is pretty bad in the bottom lane.
Yeah, already when you're taking on the beast that is the Chiefs, you need every advantage that you can get. They're going to go for the Kiana. Now that surely is a mid lane Kiana, given that Gragas
Now
is
this is the mind game.
Who's going to swap to go where?
Because both of them have shit matchups.
Uh-huh.
So now you can only pick one person for Cassiopeia to fight, right?
Uh-huh.
So both of these matchups are terrible. Kiana gets destroyed by Cassio. Set gets destroyed by Cassio. But they've done the opposite of what you normally do. As opposed to counter-picking Cassio and chasing around the map, they're like, well, you can only kill one of us.
So have they just outdrafted themselves before this game
Yeah,
has
I
been taking
think
place?
this is a pretty bad draft coming out of Mammoth. Truth be told, however, they do have some great snowballing potential. Also got to highlight the fact that their wombo combo is just bloody nuts, Skimmy.
Oh, absolutely.
So if ever the Chiefs stack up, they will die, but I don't think they will. They have a great 1-3-1 comp here. I think this is going to be fairly rudimentary for the Chiefs from the draft phase.
If Mammoth ever face Checker Brush, they're going to be met with some serious
yeah.
pain as well. Like, if they're off the map, so dangerous when you've got no vision.
Yeah, that's when it becomes kind of one of those horror thriller games, right? You're headed through the woods.
Where am I going? Where am I
going? The guy
going?
with the
Where's
hook is
the
coming
Slender
after
Man?
us, yeah. And all of a sudden, like, bam, Claire pops out over a wall. Korea CK's stalking you. It's honestly bloody terrifying. Also, Jarman's eyes are like piercing blue. Like, have you ever noticed that? Like,
I've never noticed. I've actually had to
stare
look close.
into your soul. Like, they're just very attractive eyes. Jarman, as a whole, he's like my kind of guy. He's like kind of got the ruggedish beard. He's obviously pretty jacked. Blue eyes. I'm a big fan. I mean, he's grumpy. I like grumpy people.
You're a big fan of this one, but you're very vocal about how big of a fan you are of Seal. Welcome, as always, to this one here. Spawn wasn't too happy with the draft that Mammoth are locked in. He says they've kind of counterpicked themselves pretty hard here. Are you of the same sentiment?
Yeah, so they have a little bit of a disadvantage against me because I used to coach Mboma and Lived. So I was with them in Mproc, so I know what kind of like drafts they like, how they like to play. So it wasn't as like my draft scenarios that I thought they would do weren't as bad as what they did here, unfortunately. So this one's I can't really be nice about this one. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, so obviously you guys have 3 winning lanes in a neutral jungle matchup, which is kind of what the goal is every draft, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about kind of this top lane Cassiopeia, however, because it's something that I've expected to see for a while. Very good matchup into Set, right?
Yeah, it's a definite hard counter, and Set has to go into us. So I don't really know who's going to go in with Set this game. Like, is Rakan going to go through the Cassio W? Is Gragas going to try like hop over the W or something? I don't know. I don't really know what they're going to do. So. Hopefully my players just don't mess up, because every time I do a coach interview, somehow they just die. So
It's the curse.
every time. So I'm just hoping that it doesn't happen this time.
We'll see how that goes. Did you watch last game? Obviously, Gravitas picking up a win over Legacy, your guys' biggest rivals at the moment. What did you make of that performance?
We were more nervous, I think, than Gravitas were in the game. And we're jumping up and down. Like we're hoping that we weren't too loud so the studio would hear us. But obviously well played to Gravitas. And it was a bit of a surprise because I thought personally that Tally was a positive addition to the team. I think after Tally joined, they found a lot of direction and the way they played was a lot more structured. And that's just the kind of thing that a veteran brings, whether it's off-roll. So it was actually very surprising to us. But yeah, well played to Gravitas. They had the right execution. They had the right team comp.
And I saw last night on Twitter that you're back at the gym. How's that journey treating you?
I've got love handles at the moment, so so I just I strive to look like the older team, because so it's one step at a time. But yeah, I just got my ass up there and did some work.
Now, bringing it back to you guys as a team, undefeated as always, right? It's what we've been hyping you guys up as. You mentioned in one of your interviews, fantastic piece by the way, that you had your eyes firmly set from the get-go on the MSI, on the international circuit. How does it affect really the practice and sort of the consistency, knowing that it can be so volatile with the upsets we've seen in this week particularly?
So we int scrims off cooldown. We literally just lose every scrim. So I think it affects our learning and our scrimming in a way that I think we learn better than a lot of the other teams right now. That's like the big one that we have. But other than that, when teams like Gravitas beat Legacy, it gives me anxiety. So I guess, yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing how it goes. Best of luck.
Yep.
Your teammates haven't died this time, so the curse has been broken.
Thank you so much appreciated.
We should have kept him here for longer to see whether they would just fall down. You see a little bit of a cheeky trade coming out from Lived and Claire there. Always good to catch up with Seal. And not talking about scrim results, but talking about how they go about scrims. Chiefs are definitely one of the better teams at making game-to-game adaptions, for sure. So I certainly agree with him that they implement their learnings incredibly well, Skimmy. And this is a team that, despite the lack of experience, he just talked about how important it was to have a veteran like Tally on the Legacy lineup, right?
Yeah.
They've been able to find a lot of success with their young lineup as well. So credit to Seal. I think he's certainly been a real positive addition to the Chiefs coaching staff.
I've been enjoying interacting on his stream and getting to know the players a little bit better, understanding the culture that is being promoted.
And Croc has put Bass in the biggest jungle hole I think I've ever seen a Jarvan put in a Gragas. He did red to blue side cross, took away his whole blue side jungle, got his bottom lane to take bottom Scuttle Crab while he took top Scuttle Crab with the priority that he had, to now full bottom side clear because they have no lanes of priority right now. He's about to go up maybe 16 CS. He's probably going to go up 4 camps at the start of this game, which is honestly bloody insane.
Yeah, Croc's definitely been a major surprise, but also at the same time, not really. He's been fantastic, quite honestly.
Honestly, he's been a huge surprise. We scanned him out at the start, and I honestly wasn't all that impressed with him. And now I look at him and I think that he is definitely one of the top, if not the top jungler in the OPL, right? So I think that for me, especially, watching this guy come in and play really that LPL heavy style jungling. We've had a couple of Korean players do it actually. Balkan pretty famously did it on the Bombers last year, and Croc really followed that suit. We have a lot of really good farming junglers in the OPL, but we don't have many fight heavy junglers left, you know, with Carbon, Spooks, Jude really going away. I would say kind of Lisa and Only feel that to a certain extent, but we're used to junglers a little bit more like Babip, who's like this heavy pathing jungler, helps out his lanes a lot, but not really looking for those one-on-one skirmishes himself. And I think that Croc really does abuse a lot of the OS junglers in that regard.
It's like the drummer in the band don't really always get the recognition. It tends to be the guitar player or the singer. Croc being the drummer, he's getting the love, because he's definitely put in some stellar performances. Obviously, the most notable one was when they went up against Legacy and he played the Nidalee and just ran away with that game.
But look at his understanding of the map state, right? He knows that Claire right now, with the level 6, with Ignite, can just maintain control over this mid lane. And Claire's doing the perfect thing. He's playing towards his control ward. Meanwhile, he knows that VN is very difficult to die. Once again, he's level 6. Bottom lane can hold priority because they have the whole of the game and they haven't shopped yet. And this is a really great state for Misfortune to be in. Full health without having shopped.
Lane is going to crash in bot lane.
So he just uses all that to take Dragon. Then he brings Claire down. He's going to force away a turret plate bottom lane. He's going to get a hugely advantageous shot for Katsuri, for Korea CK. And unless Claire's caught in transition here, this is a big win for the Chiefs.
Just beautiful transitions all across the map right now. The root comes out, Ignite instantly on, true talent of display. Isn't going to be enough to display that one. He falls on down for an easy first blood as the Chiefs get the game underway.
Yeah, and Liv would want that one back, Skimmy, because he could have killed Croc there. Unfortunately, missed the slam into the wall, however. And you can see that that is going to be an easy first blood picked up for the Chiefs. Bottom lane going very well right now for them. They've just been able to constantly push. They haven't really played to deny experience, which is how I thought they would play, hold this wave neutral and kind of try and fight a little bit more with the Nautilus. Instead, what they've done is they've just pushed and put a lot of pressure on this turret, and they've given Croc really great windows to play around. So definitely playing a little bit more of a team-based game right now. And we'll see whether we get the swap to the top side of Summoner's Rift. Thien is pretty good in the 1v2. And if you can get this much control with your bottom lane at this stage of the game, Rift Herald should be free, but it looks like it's going to be standard deploys for now.
Yeah, Croc going to continue exerting pressure on the map, keeping Bass in check. It's a staple of Bass's champion pool. He's always found the most success on the Gragas.
He's a real good Gragas. Really good Elise as well, actually, Bass. I've been impressed with his body of work so far. Liv's showing that this is a little bit of a counter pick matchup. It's not the best matchup for Kiana. People look at things like Renekton as more traditional counters, but I think LeBlanc has always done pretty good. And Thien going to put in hurt.
And that's the example of why the Haymaker doesn't really do too much unless he's on top of your head. Poison continues, but the shield does not. That's hanging around mid lane, but Croc is on the other end.
Oh.
And yeah, Claire is just doing disgusting amounts of damage.
And that's with knowing the Gragas is there and no R distortion available because he used the R chain. This is, however, going to be a bit of a trap. Bash should have worked out the Croc is in his jungle.
Hang on.
If that pathing from Claire didn't give it away, I don't know what would.
Bass doesn't have cask. Liv is going to rotate through potentially.
Okay, that's really nicely done from Liv to protect his jungler. Has inside track here if Bash can turn this around. Also the fact that Kwaku is coming down, Skimmy. This could be a 3v3 for the buff.
This could be a big fight right now. Predator instantly gets popped, cast to knock back Croc to try and make something happen. He's going to have to use that Cataclysm very early on, but Zed actually jumps out! That was a weird interaction. Blue buff does get taken by Bass in the end.
What happened? Croc must be untargetable during his ult. That's all that I can think of. Really great cast, actually, to bring Croc back into the team. However, the fact that Quaku's ultimate did nothing means that is ultimately 2 ultimates expended for 1. And therefore, Dragon should go... I can't speak, Skimmy. What's that thing called again?
Geraldine the Heraldine.
Yeah, Geraldine the Heraldine, apparently, is going to be picked up. Meanwhile, this bottom lane is taking an absolute pounding. They really haven't relented in the bottom lane push pressure, which is once again interesting to me. I think they could have dragged this wave. I think, oh, Liv's in trouble. He's dead.
Oh, hang on a minute. One chain lands, the second does not. Liv very low, one auto would have done it.
I mean, he has Flash, he has everything available. Claire literally let him live there from the goodness of his heart. And I was reading a piece this morning, and I think sometimes people forget this, but Lived is as good as dead right now. He's going to be off Summoner's Rift. The only thing they didn't collect was the 300 gold.
Correct.
For killing him, right?
Let's see how this went on.
So let's have a look at this. So Jarvan goes into ult, and therefore he's going to become unstoppable. That's exactly what was read on the screen. And that means that Quaku's ult is not going to pick him up.
Just a misfortunate series of events. The timing couldn't have been cleaner for both parties. But this is the problem. Cassiopeia just gets you locked in place with the poison on lockdown, the movement speed to chase you.
Oh, and Theon doesn't have ulti, because I was going to say the other reason that this is a really heavy winning matchup is because all of Set's damage comes out of that big wind-up W, right?
He turns to face you,
and you ult him. That's why it's a winning lane.
Correct.
But the fact that Theon didn't have it there means that he doesn't pick up the kill. And the fact that Quaku is actually up CS in this match, it's just once again testament to how well this guy plays bloody weak side. He's a weak side Titan.
As you highlight, with those initial weeks, he was getting bullied on out.
He was getting smashed. He got solo killed, like, I think, in his first 4 games.
Yeah, like every game was just, I think he was playing a ton of Ornn.
Yep.
And it was just not looking good. He's like, look, guys, don't worry. I will give you ornaments. We'll try and live off that. But in the later stages, week 5 onwards, he's definitely been making a name for himself. And it's fantastic to see that kind of evolution, which you highlighted at the start of this game.
Yeah, I think also they were playing just some wonky comps at the start. And even though this comp has losing lanes, right, they do have really good pick potential if they get anywhere first. So at least this comp has more of an identity than some of the earlier comps that I think Mammoth were playing. I know a lot of people were fans of like the scaling that Mammoth were putting on some of those risks, but it's always that risk. If you're going to go down this amount, right, you know, 1,200 gold or whatever it is,
yep.
2 dragons at only, you know, the 11-minute mark, scaling means bugger all, Skimmy. You got to be able to fight back at some point. I think this comp will do a better job at fighting back a little bit earlier than some of the other comps that Mammoth have had.
We're going to have to hope that that showstopper doesn't get clipped by Unstoppable. But this time we're going to see a fight take place. Ultimate will be available because there is mana. He actually flashes over it. He's a god! Quaku, what are you doing?
Quaku, that man has a family! You just can't do him like that!
He just solo killed him like a beast! He wants more. Bass was there, and he was a spectator! And they've just killed Croc!
And nearly get the knock up onto Claire as well. Bernie's flash! And Quaku, like, he waves it away. Guys, it isn't nothing. I just took down maybe the best top laner in the league right now.
That's that humble smile of knowing you just outplayed Tien. Arguably the strongest top laner in the OPL so far.
Okay, so why is this so good? Gets the flash over the ultimate, brings him back towards Bass. And Bass is a no-hesitation jungler. Then the continued chase. Look at the movement speed that he gets. Gets minion blocked and all. League of Legends didn't want him to have that one, and they just absolutely wipe him off Summoner's Rift.
Lovely sequencing, potentially a triple kill as well. Lived unable to find the execution with his ultimate. And I don't want to call it too early. I don't want to call it too early from what we saw in the game number 1. But these are promising moments that they need to have to really bring it to Chiefs, because they are, for a reason, top of the table.
Well, let's get realistic. We're 13 minutes into the game. That's nearly half the average game that the Chiefs play. They're still around about, 27 or 30 minutes, somewhere in there. And this game is dead even. So I would say, bought to Chiefs.
And I think there's been a lot of questions also as to Chiefs are known as being this team fighting team. They find a moment in the game and they just wipe you, end the game, it's done. So then it begs the question, well, what is the optimal strategy? Do you play side lanes? Do you try and go for the macro option objectives? What is it? right now, Mammoth have a clear idea. If they can get solo kills like that.
Yeah, and I think they're close to the best strategy against the Chiefs, which is, oh, Amalgam's in trouble here.
Amalgam's going to receive a fair chunk of damage. You want them to freeze the wave, but they keep on pushing and they keep on killing. Croc will be there to join on in, having not only just deployed that Rift Herald, the Cataclysm onto one, instantly goes for the stopwatch. Bass will fall in that exchange.
Oh, Hook misses.
Chiefs angered by what happened in the top lane. Beautiful timing to deny Lift here. And he gets punished and punished hard as Claire finds a double kill. Vengeance for what happened moments before.
And Kwaku mustn't have been able to find a teleport, because as soon as they turned around and started looking for this play skimmy, all I could see was the big flanking top laner from Mammoth coming back in and trying to impact this. Claire, very well done. Now has 3 kills. And Chiefs kind of just put this game a little bit further out of reach than maybe it was 3 minutes ago when we were saying it was even.
They heard our words and they said, no, there's no possible way. No chance for this game to go in their favor. We're not going to fall victim to this one. We want the flawless season. Although in saying that, Seal did mention, we don't mind dropping games. We got our eyes firmly set on claiming that playoff position and going international. So,
honestly, this seems pretty mentally tough. I've been impressed by kind of how Chiefs bounce back from even poor parts of games, right? They have had some poor skirmishes. That Direwolf game was picturesque from Direwolves for most of it. They were just playing this great 1-3-1, and then Chiefs got one team fight, and the game was just all over.
Absolutely.
So Chiefs really have shown, to me at least, hold the thought.
The face breaker. Oh. He ults his back. Bass was waiting in the wings. Here's a roaming Nautilus.
He's just going to pick him up and slam him into the turret.
He's got the ultimate to respond with that ultimate as they look to try and find this fight. And massive haymaker to 2! And the knockback again! Top lane is doomed! Don't gank this man!
I am so impressed by Kwaku. He has to be the most improved player.
Give him
in
the trophy
league.
already.
Like, that is just bonkers, Skimmy. The ability to once again force a flash, then just the decision making to ult the right target back within turret range towards a Mal. That's a shutdown.
Wow. What are we watching?
The game is back on a knife's edge.
Have we put on the wrong undies today? Like, is there an unlucky charm? Is there a witch around?
This is, honestly, this decision making was flawless. The ability to be able to pick the right target when the gank looks like it's going wrong and take down Croc in that play. I'm so impressed. You can probably tell in my voice, but Mammoth right now certainly doing themselves very proud on Summoner's Rift against the best team in the OPL without a shadow of the doubt, by the way.
No question about that one. Now it remains to be with Claire, the only member still with a flawless record, 3-0. Let's set that Dark Seal at 7 stacks. It's going to be a big saving grace in this one.
So Liv comes out. That's unfortunate for Katsuri because he was playing the right side of the lane, to be honest. You saw Claire had bottom lane pushed in. He's 3-0. You wouldn't expect anyone to be there.
Yeah.
However, this is going to be soul point picked up for the Chiefs, so it's not like they're without win conditions.
No. They picked up both Rift Heralds. They picked up all the Drakes.
No, that's going to be a Rift Herald side
I
of
stand corrected.
The Mammoth lineup. But all the Drakes is correct. They've got themselves one turret to one turret as well. Bottom lane turret was broken fairly early on. So still good signs here for the Chiefs, but I think getting pushed a little bit harder than they would have expected before this game. Although, as Seal was kind of saying in his coach's interview, when you watch the bottom teams knock off top teams, as a top team, you do start to get a little bit nervous, like the jitterbugs come in a little bit.
Absolutely. Maybe a little bit of regret now for the Chiefs bot laners to not freezing that wave and finding a bigger advantage during the laning phase.
I mean, the 3 dragons were their advantage, right? So I think that they did get something.
They made a trade-off in one
push.
regard, yeah, for sure.
But the problem is if all of a sudden Emboma and Amalgam, they're 2-item spike when they're stronger, which they definitely are going to be. This is going to be, I can never remember it, the item that gives you the fire around you picked up.
Zeke's Convergence.
Yeah, that one. Is going to be picked up, as well as, it's going to be Trinity Force. I wouldn't hate to see, once again, an Iceborne Gauntlet picked up for Emboma. The reason I like Iceborne Gauntlet, if I can explain really quickly, is that it gives you much more control in these fights. Raw DPS output, obviously Trinity Force is a better item. But if you keep tagging someone that's running towards you, like Korea CK, with Qs, you know? Even if they're hitting creeps and just stopping the Moby boots and things like that, it just gives you so much more control around these objective fights. And Ezreal is a control champion.
I suppose it begs the question, though, like, you know, if you're looking to emit raw damage,
Yeah.
surely in a professional environment, you're kind of relying on your team to act as an Iceborne Gauntlet, right? And you just want to be there focusing.
Theoretically, yes, but we've already mentioned how hard it is to engage on this Cassio, right? And in a 5v5 setting, it's going to become very difficult with a Miasma. So I actually think it's the opposite, that Emboma is a person that kind of has to push them back a little bit, make them clump up a little bit, and then he sets up the engage for Liv to do a lot of the damage. Ezreal in this composition, to me, is more around getting priority over the mid lane wave, and then being able to create an advantageous situation for your team to be able to set up good team fights. And he's not a damage champion, he's a DPS champion. Like, if you play WoW, the highest damage... Oh, hold the thought.
Well, that is a combination of damage, and that is just beautifully sequenced again.
So that's what I was going to say. If you play WoW, like, Kiana is the fire mage, right? Pyro, Pop Pyro, like, is going to, like, do so much damage. But Ezreal has always been the affliction lock.
Constant damage over time, yeah.
Just does damage over time and has 100% uptime on his damage if you play him flawlessly. So DPS over the whole fight, even though he does less raw damage, should be higher.
You make a good argument
for an Ezreal. I don't know if that went over a lot of people's heads because people really struggle with damage versus DPS, but that certainly should be the case for the Ezreal pickers, and that's why Iceborne Gauntlet should be a favoured item, in my opinion.
You can sit from afar and find value with those frozen members as opposed to having to follow up each time with that Trinity Force proc, as you say. I'm on the save wavelength now. I've been educated again. As Mammoth keep finding these picks.
Oh, Claire looking for something here. Dropped on the other flanks as well.
Now Kwaku is going for the reset. Will have a bit of money in his inventory to spend. Does have the Trinity Force obviously online because he is so damn fed. Working towards Hysterics as well.
And I don't hate this call from Mammoth. I think what they're waiting for is Emboma to have his Trinity Force. He must be so close.
Yeah.
So I expect him to grab this wave, get a shop in. You know, they let a turret fall down, but they do technically have better itemization right now for this next fight. They got Stopwatch as well as Hex Trigger online for Liv. He is going to be so surprisingly tanky. If he grabs grass in this fight, he's going to be a nightmare to deal with.
Well, let's take a stock check, right? It's a minute until the next Drake. 3 stopwatches versus 0 on Chiefs.
Got 40% cooldown pretty much picked up for Ezreal, at least 35. He's going to teleport back onto mid lane. He's going to try and get priority over here. Needs to be careful out of him. Rest of the team not here. But he's at the strongest he's ever going to be. If I'm actually the Chiefs,
Claire's looking for it. He wants that shutdown, but this is not the member you want to go for. You're even on levels, but you're in a lot of pain. Forced to burn everything to disengage out of that situation.
And that should just be enough, right? Korea CK in the back here.
But Korea's going to rock on up. He's got the stone plate. He's a tanky boy, but once again, it's that wombo combo between the wall and you. They're going to look for the exchange everywhere across the map, but surprisingly enough, it's that man again. It's Katsuri who finds the shutdown. You want to give him that economy, because if it's not Claire that's popping off and it's not Tien, Katsuri will pick up the pieces.
They should still be fighting here.
Lived.
That's a bad play for Lived.
Lived is, well, he's alone now. He's got nowhere to go. No cooldowns, no utility. And the advantage they may have had to deny a soul point has slipped through the cracks.
I'm telling you, Skimmy, they're so strong that they can maybe still fight. If they had lived on the flank right now, this would be without a doubt a winning fight for the Mammoth lineup.
Kwaku is up in 2 seconds. He has teleport available. Where's the ward that he can use? Well, they're all around. That's where it is going to come. He doesn't have Showstopper, but he does have everything else. That's going to be the Infernal Soul right now, and a team fight to follow would surely spell disaster, and that it does. Easy double kill for the Misfortune.
And that's why you needed Lived alive for the fight. Because you can see that they can't come head on against this Cassiopeia. You needed someone to make her swing around. That was Liv's job in that team fight. As soon as that wasn't the case, Melg and Bash, who were coming from the same direction, just get cut off. No damage is going to arrive in time. And the Chiefs say, that is enough for this game. We're going towards the Baron.
And they are. No Bass, no smite potential. The window of opportunity, small and short as it falls away. And Boma does pick up a consolation kill by taking out Claire, but it was only buying time for the team. And they've got the buffs online and the mechanics to utilize them to full effect.
And this is why the Chiefs are still undefeated. Any 50-50 team fight. And I don't even think that was a 50-50. Once again, I think that was slightly favoured for the Mammoth lineup at this stage of the game. It's just a victory for them at the moment. They're so decisive. They're so on the same page that they're going to be able to make these win happens. And then on top of that, they're mechanically gifted players. Claire lived in the bottom lane gank for so long when many other OPL players would just fall down instantly, right? And was still relevant to the very end. Here, I think it's a step too far. Looking for Invoma, misses the first distortion. Obviously, Ezreal, one of the few champions that can follow a LeBlanc. Obviously, very lucky that Liv didn't have his ultimate available for that Baron pit. However, no harm, no foul, and it's just going to be one Baron gone, 4 Barons still available right now for the Chiefs Esports Club.
Chiefs going to be happy with this one. They're going to push mid lane right now. They've got Claire sitting in the top side, preparing that lane as well. Ember's going to hang around to empower the minions as opposed to doing that damage themselves. You can see that's a big boy cannon.
And this is always a dangerous part of the game. Talk about why quickly. They haven't synced their waves because obviously top wave's so far away. If Amal had been able to look for a flash engage over that wall or something, Claire's not joining the fight.
Oh, of course.
No
No
way
teleport, no
he's gonna be
chance.
there, right? So they are technically in a very tricky situation right now. See whether they go over this wall and try and make something happen. I think Mammoth sat on that 4v5 for way too long.
Yeah,
Chiefs now do the right thing, back away, respect, right?
Chiefs don't need to do anything, right? They had to say, look, do you want to make a mistake? Do you want to try and engage on us? Is it the right play? Do you have the coordination to execute it? It's been strong in the early game. Now Chiefs have been given a window to showcase what they themselves can do. Still they're hesitating, and they are bleeding damage by the minute because top lane is just continually pushing on in. Now it's going to force the response, splitting this roster apart, and it's just playing more and more into the Chiefs' hands.
Yeah, it certainly is, however. Still only a 3,000 gold lead. Chiefs going to be able to pick themselves up another turret here. But unless the base is broken, this is going to be, at minimum, a 2 Baron game, you would feel. Claire constantly looking for the poke, and he's now 3 levels up over his counterpart. Probably important to point out, he's also 70 CS ahead. And we said that at the last fight, it was certainly Liv's game to be able to try and carry. Well, now Claire has full control of this game in his hands. Also, really not a fan of this Sterix pickup from Kwaku. We've talked about it before, but I think when you're playing against double ability power, you should go something a little bit more like Adaptive Helm. I've even heard Wit's End thrown around on the set. See whether anyone does go towards that. In my head, doesn't make a ton of sense because he doesn't get, unless he's really hardcore split pushing, he's not going to get flurries of attack speed out.
No.
That could be good.
Unless maybe you're Q-maxing, but you've said not really optimal.
Yeah, W into E is general max, so you Q-max last on the champion, which is really funny because I swear he was designed to be a Q-max champ.
A boxer that ends up just chucking out shields.
Absolutely. But Grid is just too good, to be perfectly honest. We also have a game where every carry in the game doesn't have MR, but we have a Leandry's Torment picked up for Bass. Now, I don't know if you're up on recent news so far, Skimmy, but there was a really good video put out by Mark Z, my mate from North America. And this is certainly one of those games where if you're Bass and your job is to one-hit a backline, Morella Nomicon would have been a much better item than the Leandry's Torment.
Yep, the Magic Pen proving invaluable right there. Ooh. Liv unable to find that one because Claire flashes on out. Croc going in for the Cataclysm. That's going to force both mid laners to use it.
I mean, that's worth. If my level 13 has to use Flash to get their level 16 Splash, we'd probably take that every single time, Skimmy. Also, the fact that Jarvan doesn't have Cataclysm available for this next fight, potentially, is a big deal. See Invoma marching up mid lane. Has got 3 items, but we kind of mentioned it. Strongest at 2 items. After that point, does fall away a little bit. You can see why. Katsuri, very strong. Has himself a Knight's Vow now. Has himself those 3 items. And the overshield from Bloodthirster for someone like a Misfortune just means she's very damn tanky at this stage of the game.
Yep, triple BF sword itemization. Relying on your W for the attack speed. Going to hit hard.
Really, what you're going to do, right, is you're going to open up with like WQ bullet time.
Yep.
And that's why attack speed doesn't really matter on MF.
Yep.
At all. So going for the safest build as you do turn into a little bit of a turret. And then max DPS, I think, as well for the bullet time. And you can see they have complete control over this area. Elder Dragon going to come up in 5 seconds. No ability to approach through mid lane just yet. Tien going to head down from the top lane as well.
Yep, lanes have been set up quite nicely for the Chiefs, as you say. Top lane pushing in, mid lane. They're going to go for one more push, it would seem, before anything happens. But I hear a flash, and I see a member right there. One target of mine, it's Quaku that they're after. He gets deleted. All that early game impact for nothing right now. Tien not able to find value with the ultimate, but they do get the kill. The most important, quite honestly.
So they go.
They are waiting for Liv's ultimate to come online. It's been a big impact decider.
Oh, he didn't have his ultimate available. That would have been like a hop over the wall into a huge
Absolutely.
ulti. Once again, Quaku's teleport is available and he still has ulti up. And the fact that they've just sent the jungler back to base means that they probably do get another shot at fighting this one, Skimmy.
I see so.
It's just going to be without their top laner's flash.
Lived off the map right now, not willing to reveal himself bottom lane, waiting for one member to get a little bit too curious with their pathing.
They sent Amelg back. That could have been a huge mistake. Now I don't think they can contest at all.
This is dropping on down very quickly between the likes of the Cassiopeia and a Misfortune. The teleport's going to come in. This is going to be too little too late. Elder Dragon's going to be down to 3k health. It's down to 1k. Can it still come out? It cannot. Elder Drake is there and clear from across the map. Bang with the headshot. That's a triple for the boys in blue so far, because they are looking to try and find this one here. All of Mammoth forced to run away to where their tier 1 turret once lived in that bottom lane. But the Chiefs find you, the Chiefs set up, and the Chiefs do deliver the goods. Both go golden, but they're not going to claim first place in this exchange. That's the ace. As Chiefs have every buff under the sun.
And in the end, it is going to be all about that dragon control. Elder Dragon forced and picked up by the Chiefs. Might have took them 30 minutes, but now very much in firm control of this game. It's going to be 10,000 gold the lead after that ace. The base is going to be broken. And in reality, it's going to be a 2v5, Bomber and Back, trying to stop this Chiefs Juggernaut from ending the game.
True shot barrage is very early on. Not too much effect, quite honestly. It's not going to be any minions, but it's going to be multiple members. And they're ready, they're hunting, they're looking for kills, but most Nestix turrets have gone on down. And Nexus itself will fall down too. Chiefs still remain undefeated.
Good moments there for the Mammoth lineup. Quaku in the early game exerting a lot of pressure in the top lane. However, it is just the overall class and the team fighting of the Chiefs that come up the goods, that objective-focused game plan, always willing to fight. And, took them 31 minutes, but in the end, it was a pretty good game from the Chiefs.
A very good game. And despite what we called out in the draft as to how sort of lopsided it was, Chief favoured, definitely gave them a good run for their money. Quaku, as you see, keeps saying, you know, most improved player by far from week 1 up until now. Just unable to find advantages in those other lanes to really bring it forward.
Yeah, and I think that we ultimately did see how much that draft was going to struggle in team fights. Like, the fact that they had to continue to look for picks beforehand and they had to come from multiple angles, that was a really hard comp for Mammoth to be able to pull off in a 5v5.
Yeah.
Chiefs won much more straightforward.
It was clean, it was cut, and it was done on the day. Let's throw it back to the couch for the boys to break down game number 2.
Well, Rusty, the run may not be on, but Mammoth at least got up to a slow jog in the first half of the game.
Every time Mammoth goes to get on a run, they face the top 2 team. That's my problem with this current situation for them, because the first time was Legacy after their win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the Chiefs.
It's not fair.
Someone let them have a run.
It's not. It's not fair. But they did put in a good showing there at the beginning, and it did feel like, oh, maybe Chiefs are in trouble. Maybe the curse of the unbeaten is actually Mammoth is the only one who can take it.
In a weird way, I agree. I think this is a very good time to introduce Katsuri, who is joining us, because that's kind of where my first question was going. This game, to me, it felt like they drafted themselves into a big hole, but it still felt like there was so much fight coming out of Mammoth. Like, have you noticed an improvement from them?
The bottom tier teams, I definitely see them like improving week by week. Like, so at the start of OPL, I noticed they were like not being proactive, and now as the weeks progress, they're like looking for players, you know, because they have nothing to lose, right? So I can see like the improvement week by week.
And also part of that would be the idea of marginal gains for the top teams, right? Like it's harder to see the 1% improvement change, but it's easy to see when a team goes, oh, we actually like brushed up on a fundamental.
Yeah, it's true, but like it was still Gravitas beating Legacy, right? Like that's more than the 1%.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
absurdly big.
Yeah. No,
but I mean, so what do you think it is though for these teams? Like, do you think it's just the proactivity that's?
Well, I think this season there are a lot of new players, who had to learn a lot of fundamentals, so in the first few weeks though, I noticed a lot of players are always out of position, not farming in good matchups or not being at the right place, right? And now it seems like they're at the right places. These guys aren't actually bad they're good mechanically, just need to learn the fundamentals, and that's why you see these teams are now picking up wins.
And Mammoth obviously gave a little bit of trouble there at the beginning, but you managed to close it out. Direwolves are a team much closer to you in the standings. How are you feeling about the game this afternoon?
Still feeling confident versing them. I think they are actually a strong team, even though they're third place. So under the scenes and scrims, they're a really good team, really surprisingly. So.
And what do you think of them personally? Because they're watching right now.
Well, I used to be on the Direwolves last year, so beating Direwolves is always a good feeling. So, yeah.
So you hate them.
You can't
this
turn
year I
everyone
do.
into
Yeah,
carbon.
this year I do. Great. Beautiful. Anything else from you?
No, it's all good. I think we leave it on that one.
We'll just leave it on Katsuri hates the Direwolves. We don't hate you guys, though. We'll be back after this break.
This time we're going to see a fight take place. Ultimate will be available because there is mana. He actually flashes over it. He's a god! Quaku, what are you doing? He's got the ultimate to respond with that ultimate as they look to try and find this fight. A massive haymaker to two! And the knockback again! Top lane is doomed! He doesn't have Showstopper, but he does have everything else. That's going to be the Infernal Soul right now, and a team fight to follow would surely spell disaster, and that it does. Elder Dragon's going to be down to 3k health. It's down to 1k. Can it still come out? It cannot. Elder Drake is there and clear from across the map. Bang with the headshot. That's a triple for the boys in blue so far. They're hunting, they're looking for kills, but most nested turrets have gone on down. The Nexus itself will fall down too. Chiefs still remain undefeated.
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.
Oh, that's how you want to play it.